Good morning and welcome to episode 4 of the Boggling Universe series. In episode 3, I concluded that episode with 2 unanswered questions. 1, how could the Big Bang be both violent and silent? Seems to be a contradiction. And then 2, what is behind the expansion of the universe / space-time? What's driving it? Before I get into the answers to those 2 questions, let me give you a little bit more information about space-time. I've mentioned it a few times before, and now's a good time to give you a little bit more information about it. Space-time was a term coined by Einstein, and it's directly related to his theory of relativity, where basically he mashed up both time and space together. Basically, the theory is stating that they are as one. You can't separate them. Now, conceptually, you go, well, that's sort of strange. But then again, Einstein was, he was out there for sure in terms of how his brain worked. But if you think about it, it's really not that far-fetched. I mean, we use it every day. When we use our GPS, what are we dealing with? Space and time. Our location at any point in time, and for example, our ETA being the time. So the 2 really go hand in hand. What he did do was he took it to another dimension, Einstein, in his theory, which I won't get into here, but you get the picture. They are related, and at some level it definitely makes sense, and you take it way beyond that, like within his theory, and you might not follow it, but for this particular episode and future episodes, it should be perfectly fine. So let's get into the question about the Big Bang being both violent and silent. Now, on the surface, you think, well, man, the sound of that must have been absolutely amazing due to the fact of the intensity of the event. I mean, the 4th of July is amazing to me in terms of fireworks when they shoot them off, in terms of the sound. And you go, you would expect that sound to be like this. I mean, you can't even imagine how loud it must have been. But then you step back and you go, hold on a second here. Let's look at what happened when the Big Bang occurred. And basically the singularity started spewing stuff out of it. Well, we talked about in the previous episode, the one thing that it spewed out was plasma. This hot, soupy, thick plasma that was, basically burning ass hot. And going through that was the sound and the energy and the pressure generated from the Big Bang itself. Well, if you can imagine your pressure and there's this hot plasma, thick plasma, and you're trying to go through it, and you have to grind through it. I mean, it's thick. You just can't get through it. I mean, it's tough. And it's similar to if you're walking in thick mud that's up to your waist, you're gonna sort of try to get through it. And it's the same thing with the sound or the frequency pressure wave generated from the Big Bang. On top of that, not only was that it being impeded by the plasma, the frequency that the sound wave was making was at a low frequency that we could not hear anyhow. It was in a range that it was below the range that we could hear, even though it was powerful. And it reminds me of a dog whistle. If you're familiar with that concept, you can blow the whistle. Humans can't hear it, but dogs can. Same type of difference. Anyway, it's not that that pressure wave or sound wave was just this mild little thing. It was major intense. As a matter of fact, it left an imprint on our universe that we still experience to this day. And when I mentioned the cosmic microwave background before in the previous episode, that's one remnant fossil of that particular sound itself. It's dealing with the radiation side of it, but anyway, you get the point. Now, there are different thoughts about what it would have sounded like, assuming you could hear it and it was at a frequency that humans could hear. Some people think that it sounded like a scream. They call it a cosmic scream. So it's like this, and then it winds down over time, over hundreds of thousands of years. Then there's this primordial rumble. It's sort of this pulsating type of sound. And then there's the good old hum like meditation. Now, are any of them true? Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, there was a professor from the University of Washington that said, I've had enough of these theories. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use hard data. And I'm going to take that hard data. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take that hard data from the cosmic microwave background, and I'm going to convert that into an audio sound that humans can hear. So he wrote some software and took data from that basically that radiation, leftover radiation from the Big Bang, and he came up with a sound of his own. Now, you can find how he did that and an example of that sound, a snippet, a clip of that sound online if you want to. But let me just tell you, for me personally, having listened to the sound myself, the first image that it conjured up was, those big bulk jumbo cans that restaurants use or cafeterias use with stewed tomatoes and vegetables or whatever they may put into them. When I heard that audio of what the Big Bang sounded like, it reminded me of someone with really not a lot of brains deciding to eat one of those big jumbo cans, but they're full of baked beans. So you're probably getting an idea where I'm heading with this. And thinking about it and listening to that audio, let me tell you what I think it sounded like, and what I'm coining a new phrase or name for the noise that was made by the Big Bang. All right, you ready? Drum roll. The name is the Big Fart. That's right, the Big Fart. I like the name because it accurately describes that sound that was simulated, recreated by that professor. And the word big is important here for that particular word. Just like the Big Bang, the Big Fart was big. I mean, if you think about it, that fart lasted upwards, hundreds of thousands of years, maybe 500,000 years. One solid fart for all that time. That's big. To give you a comparison, the world record for a human fart was 2 minutes and 42 seconds. And this was verified by 2 referees, believe it or not. Now, I don't know what the referees were doing there in the first place. I don't know if they were paid or why they needed to. That in and of itself is another episode. But the bottom line is, if you compare the Big Bang's fart against the human fart, it's child's play. It's like, please, there's no comparison. So if I were to summarize for you why there was no sound, but the Big Bang, associated with the Big Bang, but yet it was violent, I would say, 1, the singularity decided to release the universe. 2, it spewed out this plasma out there, hot, soupy plasma. The sound and the pressure was generated from the Big Bang, tried to get through that plasma and was having a hard time doing it. And as a result of that, it was basically tempered, and it created a silent but deadly fart. And I mean, from a standpoint of the sound itself was not deadly, but if you were near the plasma along with that pressure wave, it would be deadly. So with that said, now you know why it was silent. No more to say on that. Hopefully you get that. Now on to the expansion of the universe. Now this one, what I'd like to do is really introduce you to the 2 brothers. And they're the dark brothers. There's dark energy and dark matter. So as we've talked about probably a half a dozen times before, Big Bang occurs, expansion of the universe happens, things are moving outward. And the movement outward, the first brother, dark energy, You could think of him as the yeast in dough and raisins, that analogy I gave before. It's basically causing the dough to expand and raisins to go along with it in the raisin bread. And it's similar to space-time expanding and the galaxies and planets and stars moving in basically with the expansion, similar to raisins and dough. So you get that. Now, dark energy, he wants to separate things all the time. You know, we're a happy family, basically in the singularity, and then we expand outwards. Now he really wants to get everyone as far apart as imaginable. I mean, he just doesn't want anyone to be close to one another. So that's his sole purpose, is to act as that yeast to get the family separated. Now, what's weird about dark energy is it's invisible. That's number one. Surprise, surprise, in our universe, everything's mysterious and weird. And then on top of that, dark energy constitutes 70% of our universe's mass energy, that combo. Now, that's a staggering amount of something, energy out there that we can't even see, but it's there and it's functioning every day. And it's not like this is a theory. Dark energy's for real. It's been observed by scientists. As a matter of fact, the three astronomers involved with that discovery won the Nobel Prize in 2011. So it's for real. Now, his younger brother, dark matter. Dark matter is more of a nurturing type of he's the nurturing one of the family. He likes keeping things together. He's the gravity of holding things together. So dark energy is exploding things, and dark matter is trying to keep them together as the expansion is occurring. So he creates this scaffolding system. So as things are moving, at least we can stay together somewhat. Otherwise, everything would just truly blow apart because of the older brothers. He's hell-bent on making things expand. So even though they're on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of what they're doing, at the end of the day, they work in a collaborative manner, maybe reluctantly, but they're holding things together in a way that provides stability as the universe expands. Now, same with dark energy, as dark energy is, dark matter is also invisible, and it constitutes 25% of the energy mass of the universe. So if you combine the two brothers together, they constitute 95% of the mass energy of the universe. So that leaves 5% for galaxies and stars and comets and everything else you can think of. And so 95%, and you can't see it. Welcome to the universe. So in summary, with the universe expanding, basically, in a nutshell, you can blame it on the Dark Brothers. I'll leave it at that. Now, the next episode, as I mentioned, I'm going to be focusing in on gravity. Gravity is one of the four fundamental forces that I mentioned previously in another episode. And I chose that one because people are most familiar with that one. And I thought that would be a good one to start off with, to relate to what I've already talked about in the previous episodes and also going forward. So with that said, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye-bye.